Hey, and welcome to my show, Outside of the Vox, where we explore different perspectives on approaching one's path as a voiceover talent. I'm Naomi Mercer-McKell, a voiceover professional of over 18 years, and I also teach voiceover business and marketing courses like Outstanding VO Branding, the Workflow of VO, and the Campaign Creator. Today's guest is fellow voiceover talent and also demo producer, as well as voiceover retreat creator, or maybe I should say co-creator, since that's with his wife, Anna. Anyway, and now the One Voice Conference co-producer, and last but definitely not least, the VO Atlanta producer, J. Michael Collins. Damn, I'm out of breath. For real though, this guy knows what's up. He blazes trails and carves his own path in voiceover for himself and also for the rest of the industry. So here's my chat with J. Michael Collins. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Why not? Okay.
How have you been?
I've been good. Ooh, I don't like that bag or that soundproof foam in the background.
There you go.
But now look at your awards. Oh my God, you don't need any decorations. You don't need to
Subtle,
buy
right?
any tchotchkes. Dude, on both sides and two levels. Are those mostly sovas?
Those are sovas, yeah. They have just kind of, it's like an infestation. I was joking. I had this year's one sent to our new house in Maryland.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yeah, the old house had an infestation of these things. We got an infestation of the new house. Now you can't get rid of the damn thing. Like,
I
subtle
love it.
display back there, right?
Welcome. Do you prefer for people to call you J. Michael, or
I
do
do,
you
yeah.
want James? Okay, J. Michael, how's it going? It's really good to
JMC's
have you
good
here.
too. Either
Okay,
way.
JMC.
It's good.
JMC is cool. It's got a good ring. I like that.
It's going great. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me on, and hello to everybody out there watching.
Yes, I don't know where I came up with the idea of this show. It was to give people more of like learning a personality of a person that coaches or is just in a place of authority in voiceover. And then when I came up with the idea of outside of the Vox and like focusing on it being like unique perspectives and unique approaches to the voiceover industry, then I felt like, okay, this is different than the rest. So that's the show you're on, the web show. And I'm really excited to have you here right after you, should I say acquired VO Atlanta?
Acquired is the right word, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so for voiceover Atlanta, I wanted to go this year for so many reasons. One, because I was like, well, I'm on the East Coast now,
Right.
and everybody's talking about it. And also, this is the last one. Holy crap. And then something came up, and I knew I couldn't go, and I was devastated. And then I saw the news that you, should I say acquired VO Atlanta?
Acquired is the right word, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, and that's you and Anna. Tell me who Anna is.
Yeah. So Anna's my wife,
Okay.
and
Cool.
so Anna has a broad background in the corporate world, particularly in events and facilities. And so she has been the driving force behind our Euro VO retreats over the last what is it now? 5 or 6 years.
Good for you.
And we're now doing number 7 in a couple of weeks in Barcelona. So she I smile and wave and it's my name on them, but really she's the one who makes them run. And she does all of the hard work.
That would
behind the
be a
scenes
whole
because
thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole job. And then we got a little bit of a baptism by fire last year with One Voice USA Dallas, in that that is a partnership that we have with Hugh Edwards and Peter Dixon of Gravy for the Brain. They started the One Voice Conference in the UK many years ago, and we expanded it to the US in an online format during 2020. And then in 2021, we did the first live conference back since the pandemic in Dallas in August. And because of the travel ban, Hugh and his team, for the most part, were not able to get into the U.S., and they were the ones who were supposed to be doing the on-the-ground coordination of the conference. So basically, Anna and I wound up running that conference on the ground, with Anna again being the person behind the scenes putting out the fires and dealing with all of the logistics. And it came off extraordinarily well. We had a couple hundred people on the
Cool.
ground. Nobody got sick. It was
Really?
yeah, it was just a and people were so happy to be back live somewhere with other humans, with other VOs, and interacting in a kind of normal space. So I got to see Anna really in action in that capacity, working a bigger event, and
Mm-hmm.
it came off. You didn't see the stuff that was happening behind the scenes, but what you want is for the public, it comes off basically without a
Oh
hitch.
yeah, I used to work in
And,
event
right,
production. That was like my right out of college. I worked for a
right.
person. We did it, and I know everything you're talking about. It's
And so,
you want
yeah,
the
I mean,
experience to be smooth for the
so it came
people.
together, and I had, I've been talking to Gerald for a while. I got the sense, I think, during the pandemic, that he was starting to sort of disengage a little bit from VO Atlanta, and that it was perhaps not what he wanted to do going forward. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I laid that marker with him pretty early on, that if
I
you ever
see.
decide to get out, let me know, because we would be interested in possibly coming in. VO Atlanta is a really special thing. And I said this there, I said this in my article, but I'll say it again. It's kind of where I found my tribe. It's where I found my VO family. The community is such a special thing that we have in this
I love
industry,
that.
because
I would like
yeah,
that. When I've gone to conferences over the course of my career that were not VO focused, that helped my career. I used to go to GDC a lot in San
mhm,
Francisco, and I would look up in the program. It'd be like it'd be a session on how to better direct voiceover actors. So I'd rub elbows with all these people who do the casting, and then when the VO conferences started up, I've gone to e-learning conferences too before, but when
right.
they're for voiceover talents, at first it was going over my head, where I'm like, well, I'm sure it's for people who don't know where to get the jobs and don't know what to do.
Right.
So if I'm working, what do I need that for? And then I started to see the connections between people online talking about it, and I was like, oh. And in
Well,
fact, I made a lot of connections with people in the game industry because we went to GDC together and went to the after parties and whatever else. But that's where the real where the real bonds happen.
well, that's where the magic
And
happens.
I
It
can't
really
wait to
is.
go
Yeah.
next year.
Well, we are excited to have you, but I mean, you're right. That's where the magic happens. It's between the session. The sessions are great. The content hopefully is going to help people grow in their careers, but really, it's when you're making friends, when you're making those connections, when you're sharing those laughs over a meal, over drinks, whatever it might be. I always tell talent that we hire each other all the time, but it's very rare that we hire people that we just know from Zoom. It's usually people that we've actually had a personal interaction with,
Mm-hmm.
and as important as it is to learn from the best of the best in the industry, and to hear the casting directors and the agents and the managers, really at these conferences, often it's the friends that you make who will wind up sending you work at some point.
That's true.
I'm literally sitting here right now, and
I
just in the
send my
past few
good
minutes,
friends. It's true. Yeah.
well, I just in the past few minutes, Laura Schreiber, who's a really solid talent out there and a good friend, and I met Laura at a conference at some point over the years, and she just sent me an audition just out of the blue,
Really.
right? So so it's like, the more connections and friends you've got in this business, the more of that stuff you're going to find. But I want to pivot back real quick to Anna. So
Please.
what we did with VO Atlanta is we created a new LLC that is going to be the parent company for our events arm, and now the retreats are a part of that, and VO Atlanta is property of the LLC. It's called Anna
Cool.
Collins Events, or ACE
Ooh.
Events,
Very
uh,
cool.
and Anna is the CEO. I'm a junior partner in it, and she is now the CEO of VO Atlanta. My job will be to continue to create the content, to help curate the people that we're going to bring in, to build the X sessions, to build the actual content experience. Whereas Anna's going to make sure that all of the other things work the way that they're supposed to, and all of the little touches that we like to bring to our retreats and the other events that we do. I mean, I said in the article, yeah, we're probably not going to serve lobster and champagne, right?
I saw though that you were
There is a
immediately
budget, but
addressing issues where you're like,
right,
I've been there, I felt what you feel, and here's how I'm gonna fix it, and here's
right.
the first steps, and I love that. And I'm sure the people who have been love it too, and will then keep
Well,
talking about it.
the thing that's nice that we have is we have a little flexibility that the previous ownership didn't have as much, which is that this is not going to be our primary source of income. Okay, this
Mm,
is a in fact for us this is a very secondary source of income or a
right.
tertiary source of
Right.
income. And what that
Right.
means is that we don't necessarily we want to make a profit. We're not running this as a charity, okay? But we don't have to squeeze every penny out of
Right.
everything in order to make sure that the numbers add up for us, because we don't necessarily have to have that. So we want to find
That
a
ends up
balance
yielding
between.
better results in the end always
It does, and I
anyways.
think it creates good faith, and it creates a sense
Mhm.
of people actually being invested in the event and feeling taken care of. So we're hoping to make it a really special experience. It's been a really special experience. Gerald did a great job building this thing up, and we're hoping to take it to new places.
Okay, this is a good spot to pivot off of what you just said. In that blog entry you wrote about this whole process of you taking over VO Atlanta, you said that you and Anna have watched VO Atlanta serve as a launch pad for more careers than you can count. So, can you tell me what you saw when you watched that play out? Like, give me an example of a voiceover talent coming to VO ATL and then how they benefited from it after that. Inquiring minds.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of quite a few people like Brad Hyland, Jace Patrick, Bev Standing, Bobby Maxwell. I mean, there are so many of them I can think of off the top of my head who have come to VO Atlanta. Even Christy Bowen, who's now kind of a star in her own right, and who runs ACM's e-learning division. Christy was kind of
I
an
did
up
not
and
even
coming
know
talent
that.
the first couple of times that she was at VO Atlanta, and then she actually helped Gerald put together a lot of the show over the years. But I've seen a lot of these people come in as newer or new to the business and learn, absorb, make friends, become a part of this community. With there have been a lot of great conferences over the years, and then VO Atlanta was kind of the Super Bowl every year. It's sort of the hub where kind of
Yep.
everybody came. And made those connections, and then I see the same people back 2 years later, 3 years later, and they're speakers, and they've got six-figure
Mm-hmm.
careers, and they're out
Mm-hmm.
there working. And you can't attribute all of that to a conference, but there's an element of becoming immersed in the community, learning things, making those connections that does come away from that. And we really feel like it's a vital experience that will help any talent who really is committed to growing their career.
That's very cool and encouraging. I want to help. I want to participate next year, and then however I can be a part of it that benefits, I so want to. So I also would like to know, I want to talk more about, well, you kind of touched on the One Voice conference, but these retreats, these VO traveling retreats. I mean,
Right.
this is so up my alley, and you've been doing it for a long time now, it sounds like. I moved here, and we've got Airbnbs where I'm wanting to put studios into them where people can come here and, go on a paddle boarding tour through the tropical lagoon in the morning, but then come back and
Right.
record their podcast or their voiceover work or whatever in their unit in the jungle. So then, and right now it's just, we've been getting settled here and it's the move. But the dream is to do something where we have this space, but then also some summers, some weeks are booked off for a yoga retreat, a voiceover retreat. I remember I was in junior high, and we had this program called like Exploratory Week, and the school would shut down for a week, and you could do anything. There was a book where you could just enrich yourself. Did you want to learn science? Did you want to build a boat and sail around the island that I grew up on? Did you want to go and ride your bike 300 miles
Right.
with all your stuff on the back? And I just wish there was more of that for adults. And it sounds like you kind of do that. So tell me more about these retreats. Tell me about this Barcelona one, and how many people are going, and when's your next one?
So the retreats were kind of sort of a random idea. It was on a train actually from Paris to Luxembourg after getting off of a flight from London, and perhaps was overserved a little gin on that flight. But I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, and I saw this beautiful villa pop up in the south of France, and I had this just sudden flash of, I wonder if anybody would be interested in like a Big Brother VO, fantasy camp kind of thing. And so I threw it out on Facebook and said, is this something that would be interesting to anybody? If we do these in Europe, it's going to cost at least $5,000. So keep in mind it won't be cheap, right? And I had like 150 people within 10 minutes going, "Oh my God, yes, where, when, ba, ba, ba." And I was like, "Oh my God, wow, this is a thing." Okay, so
Yeah.
we started to do some research on logistics. We started to look at the cost, and when we started to look at properties, the one we're going to in a couple of weeks is where we started. It was our first property in Barcelona.
Oh.
It's about 30-40 minutes north of the city center. It's in a village called San Vicente de Montalt, and it is a beautiful, very, very early 1900s villa called Villa Blanca. It's about 12,000 square feet. It's got 14 bedrooms, and just a beautiful living space, a piano. It's got a chapel where we put our Studio Bricks booth. So we always, Studio Bricks being in Barcelona, they'll bring a booth up for us to let us use for the week so the talent can get in there and record if they want to. And we always joke that we put the booth in the chapel because if you get too announcery, you have to say 20 Hail La Fontaine. But it's just a magnificent sweeping property that's got beautiful manicured gardens and a lot of acreage. I mean, it's probably sitting on I don't know, maybe 15-20 acres, and a pool, horses, some other wildlife rolling around, and a view of the sea. So
Oh,
it's really a spectacular place, and it's become kind of our retreat home over the years. We do them in other places. This is, I believe, the third one we're doing in Barcelona. We even last year in June, not a public event, but I brought my whole team to the villa for a week just to, because we hadn't seen each other since the beginning of the pandemic,
very cool.
just to kind of reconnect. And we brought Armin Hirstetter from Bidalgo for comic relief as well, because we love Armin. But it was it's a magical place. It's not the Four Seasons, this particular venue. Okay, it's a 1901 house. It has
Rustic
an elevator, which is
beauty.
nice. I
Oh,
wouldn't describe,
cool.
yeah, I wouldn't describe it as rustic, but it's certainly Spanish villa chic, and the materials are beautiful. It's especially downstairs, it's a lot of marble and beautiful dark wood and things like that. But the bedrooms are, they're not overly fancy. They're not hotel rooms. But it's a magical place
Still,
where we all kind of come together. We
yes.
bring in a private chef for the week, and most importantly, though, is the training. We bring in some of the best in the industry. These are very small group events. The Barcelona retreat's limited to 10 attendees.
Okay, that was my next
And yeah,
question.
so they're very small group, and we bring in for this one we have Vince Labica from DPN. We've got Kristen Paiva, who's the head of animation casting for Disney TV right now. We have Dave Fenoy coming to teach promo and character. We have Carrie Olson
How am
coming to
I
teach,
not in the
right?
know of this? This is
so
incredible.
So Carrie
Keep
Olson's coming to
doing
teach
this.
non-broadcast narration. I'll be
Uh-huh.
teaching commercial TV narration and business, and AJ McKay, my right-hand man, is there to teach tech and radio imaging. And basically, it's five full
So
days, 5
well-rounded.
nights. Yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
good group. And when we do the bigger ones where we've got maybe 14 or 16 attendees, we usually have 8 presenters. This one with a smaller group, we're doing 6.
Okay.
But it's 5 nights, 5 days of intensive learning. The Monday, everybody gets together and just kind of gets over their jet lag, and we have an opening cocktail and canapé reception and champagne reception, and then a nice celebratory opening dinner. But then we dive in Tuesday morning, and it's 3 blocks every day of 2 at a time, 2.5-hour sessions going on side by side. In fact, as we get later in the week, we even run 3 sessions at once. And the idea is the content repeats over the week, especially the more popular sessions. So you don't have to miss anything, but it's all small group. The most you're ever going to see in one of these sessions is maybe 8 people. And by the time you get to the end of the week and people have already seen some of the content and are now looking at different stuff, we had one we did in Dublin a few years ago. Mary Lynn Wisner, top casting director, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her third session, she had 2 people. It was basically a private for 2.5 hours. Okay. Pat Brady, the former head of animation casting for CESD in Dublin, in our most recent one last year, again, same kind of thing. She had 1 session, 2 people reading for her for 2.5 hours.
So
So
I guess it's a pretty easy pitch to make. Like, hey, be in an intimate environment to teach talent. I'm sure you vet the people, like they
we
have to
do.
apply. Right. So
Yeah. So
they're not going to
yeah.
be
So there's
frustrated teaching these people. It's in
right.
a beautiful place. There's a chef. There's a schedule. I mean, because I was going to say, how do you get these wonderful all of these people to come in from all different angles of the industry, but I guess it's not too tough of a sell.
Well, we
That
bribe
is
them
cool.
with private chefs and fine champagne, but
Hmm.
it tends to work
So
well.
is this just on your website? Does it have its own website, or do you
Yeah,
just
so
do word
if
of
you go to
mouth?
jmcvoiceover.com, there's a Euro VO retreat tab,
Okay.
and you can
So it's
check that out.
always Europe? Is that why you call it
It's always
Eurovio?
Europe. It's the Euro VO
Okay.
retreat, and that's kind of our thing. I don't know if you know this, but we split time between Luxembourg and Maryland,
I did not
the
know
DC
that.
area. And so right now you're talking to me. This is my Luxembourg studio.
I
So
see.
yeah, because we have a basis in Europe, this is where we started doing them. We wanted to do something that was different. There are lots of little events and lots of conferences, obviously, in the U.S. We wanted to do something that was kind of on an elite level, that was just a little bit different and was a very premium, personalized experience. So the
Mm-hmm.
next one, if you do go to the website and check out that tab, the next one is Switzerland in the fall, and we're going to be in a beautiful little place called Witznau, where my wife and I went and spent New Year's this year, right on Lake Lucerne, literally on the water. And we have Trish Ryan from DPN coming, Scott Brick coming to teach audiobooks, Scott Parkin coming to be insane and teach improv, Mara Juno coming, Jordan Reynolds coming, Daniel Ross, the voice of Donald Duck, and AJ McKay will be joining. We have one spot left, one private registration left. We had been sold out. One person had to back out.
Is
So
Jordan going to be teaching people how to set up their studios properly?
yeah, he's going to be teaching tech and audio mastering and probably a few other subjects as
I
well.
actually would want to know that and would be very into that. Like, I like
So
my
it's a
chain and all my stuff, but I would love to back it up. I've been meaning to buy his course.
Jordan's,
Um,
Jordan's great.
Before I go back to my list of questions, I just want to fantasize for a second. Hypothetically, if we ever did an arm off of the retreats and did
Hmm.
like a Latin America or some kind of South America type thing, what would that look like?
Yeah, we could talk. The Dominican Republic seems like a nice place to do one, right?
It really
So
is. It's so incredible here.
the
Oh
the
God.
the
And the
the
food.
LATAM retreat,
The food
right?
is has been such an awakening. That is one thing. I've lost 40 pounds since I've moved here because the food is
Well, I found it.
actually, I felt like if I wasn't paying attention, I could have just eaten the same food. And I did end up taking
Right.
a class, this really old lady with the worst voiceover that ever existed. But that old bag taught me how to eat. So I've been
There you go.
eating the fresh foods here, and it has been kind of life changing. I can't lie. But
Well, we should talk. You never know. We could expand.
yeah, yeah, long term goals. Hashtag goals. Hashtag
There you go.
voiceover life goals. Okay, I want to move on to talk to you about um the Sovas. Okay, I've been doing voiceover for almost 18 years, and only recently have I really even heard of this. Well, okay, not recently. I probably first heard of it 3 or 4 years ago, but
Yeah.
when I check them out, you sweep them. You sweep them up with a biscuit or mop them up with a biscuit. So I guess you're the very best person to ask. I mean, what are they exactly? And
Well,
why do you
so
think you do so well with them? And how could someone else who's like, I do voiceover, how do I guess, get nominated or submitted or whatever? If I'm working all year long, surely there's some job that's eligible to be submitted. So yeah,
right.
tell me more
So,
about that.
SOVAS itself is a Society of Voice Arts and Sciences. It was started by Rudy Gaskins and Joan Baker. It's a nonprofit, and they do a lot of charity and a lot of giving back for the industry as part of their various programs that they do. They also run the That's Voiceover conference every year, which is typically in New York or LA in the fall. So that's connected to it. And usually, when the world is normal, then the Voice Arts Awards, which are what you see back there, are the next day after That's Voiceover, also in New York
I
or LA,
see.
usually at quite a nice location. They actually finally they went back to live this past year, and we did it at the Guggenheim in New York, and it was an
I saw
absolutely
that.
beautiful
Beautiful
venue. Um,
dresses, beautiful, yeah, beautiful
yeah,
everything.
but I think this last year was the 7th or 8th year. and they've just grown over time. The first year I didn't participate. I saw them come out and I just kind of watched and said, was this going to become a thing? And they got such an incredible reception. And it's again, it goes back to like we talked about with VO Atlanta or some of the other events out there. It built its own little community, its own little ecosystem of people who just want to see the industry lifted up. And
Yeah,
I know
that's
there are a
really
lot of
cool.
people. Well, there are a lot of people out there for whom awards aren't their thing, and that's cool. I get that, but those of us who participate in the Voice Arts Awards, it is a way to celebrate what we do. It's a way to take each individual talent out there and give them the chance to have a moment in the spotlight and to say, hey, look, this is somebody who's invested so much time, so much money, so many blood and tears into their business. And if you're producing the best of the best work, here's a way that you can be honored.
I
So
love
I know
that.
I mean, they started a wonderful thing. And I know I speak for a lot of people when I say I'm really grateful for having that outlet, to showcase the work that I do and that my team does.
Yeah.
And so after the first year, and it became clear that this was something that definitely had legs, I started participating. You are allowed to submit your own work for nomination, or your agents or someone else can submit your work for nomination. And then they have a vetting process, and they get thousands of entries. So
I bet.
their judges have to go through and vet those, and then they judge to figure out who the nominees are, and then judge to figure out who the winner is. And they're typically 5 or 7 nominees in each
And
category. And
the categories are like demos,
so
genres, so
yeah, I mean,
jobs,
there are quite a few. I think
campaigns.
they're pushing probably 100 categories. So if you go on, if you go to sovas.org, you can look at the nominees and winners for recent years, and you can see all of the different categories that are on there. But they're everything from work in every genre that you can think of, to campaign awards, to awards for demos, to awards for production, to awards for best website,
Really?
and there's some that I'm forgetting. So it's quite comprehensive, and they have kind of become the Oscars of the voiceover industry. And we've seen as the years have progressed that the kind of sponsors that they get have grown. They have
Yeah.
networks like ABC and NBC Universal
Yeah.
sponsors them, and they have
It
it
seems
was
and feels old. It
yeah,
feels like it's been around since the early 80s, and I just noticed it. So it's
right.
interesting that you say that it just started 7 years ago. That maybe that's why it's picked up such steam, is because everyone's like,
It's
oh,
picked
yeah,
up a
this
lot of
should have
momentum.
been here. You should have been doing this.
And that's it. It's like, look, we have this thing to celebrate, and it's just so cool. I mean, everybody gets dressed up. Everybody comes in their ball gowns and their tuxedos. My ball gown is not particularly
I
flattering,
am
but I
dying for a
digress.
reason
Uh,
to ball gown it up.
but it's a wonderful celebration of what we do, and obviously I've been very fortunate over the years with the success in them, and a lot of that is due to the incredible clients that I have that give me the chance to actually talk for the money, as we say,
Yeah.
and also a lot of those are for demo production, and a lot of that credit goes to my engineering team and to the incredible talent that
Wait, something just
have
clicked
chosen
in
to
my
work
mind.
with us over the years.
Do you do the on hold of the stocks for Charles Schwab by any chance?
Not that I know of, but I've forgotten a lot of projects. So
It might. Have you
I
ever done
I
an
don't think so.
AI voice yet? Have you ever?
Oh
Have you
God,
done?
no, no,
No.
no. Not,
Well, I
not I,
mean, you'd get
as
paid,
the
and
first
it's gonna come.
As the first George Bush said, not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Um,
It's coming, though.
I
It's
know, I
coming.
know.
But you
Yeah,
could like aggressively be. You could be proactive with AI and be like, I'm going to make an AI voice for you, New York Times, and then I'm going to be the voice of the New York Times. You could do that.
my thing with AI is this, and it's not that look, as well as I do, because we both worked on the websites back in the days, and I was one of the early adopters of the changes that came to the industry 15 years ago or so, and did very well with that. And I'm not somebody
Me
who just
too.
turns and says no. If it's new, it's bad, right?
True. Yeah.
The thing
Totally
with
on
AI
that page.
is I am waiting for somebody to show me a means through which it will make a substantial positive impact on my bottom line vis-a-vis the potential risk of abuse. Any AI that I would be involved in, I would have to have an ironclad contract giving me absolute control over how it's used and the ability to terminate that usage at any time I want it. And
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, I need to see how I can make money off of it. And prior to the pandemic, I was engaged with a couple of partners with one of the bigger AI companies out there, and we were looking at doing some kind of a partnership, and actually getting in on an investor level. And the thing that the conversation, I don't know where it would have gone if it hadn't been for COVID. When COVID happened, we kind of shut that stuff down for a little while just to see what
Mm-hmm.
was going to happen with the economy and everything else. So
Mm-hmm.
that killed that potential venture. But my big takeaway was with what they were charging end users for the AI model voices. I did not see how that could possibly, even if they were being used frequently, add up to more than some hundreds, maybe 1,000 or two a month for a voice actor. And I know there are a lot of voice actors that would be helpful for, and people have to pay their bills. I get that, but that's not enough for me to consider
For
creating
how
something that
much your voice is
could
going to
yeah
be
could
showered
potentially.
out there for that.
Yeah, it would need to be a lot more than that. So if I'm shown a use case that says, hey, you can make 10, 20, 30,000 a month doing one of these, well, okay, let's talk. But I haven't seen
Mm-hmm.
that yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to see some agents take it on and approach really big brands
Right.
for a voice of theirs. That I think would be a cool
Well, I
way to
think
approach
also,
it.
one thing that's really, this came out of VO Atlanta too, the online casting panel where I was, one of my guests was Rolf Feldman, the CEO of Voice 123. And Rolf, about a year ago, they started an experiment where they were mixing in AI voices with the human voices in the castings and giving the clients the opportunity to choose an AI voice if they wanted. And they wanted to see what would happen. And Rolf
It's
said
not
at VO
there.
Atlanta, it's not that it's not that it's just not there. It's just that the demand was negligible. That most clients, when given the choice, even at a considerably lower
Oh, I
price,
remember that now. I know exactly
yeah,
what you're talking about, and I read that whole, and that totally fizzled and died out, and I never heard
it
anything about
filtered
it
and died out
again.
because
Nobody wanted it.
most of
I guess
there
if
was no
you're
uptake.
already going to Voice 123, it's because you want to hire a voice with a
And
person behind that
I
page.
and so I mean I think look I think the people who are terrified of AI are also not right, because it's at the end of the day, you're right, it is coming. Okay, it is going to be a part of the industry, but it's going to be a part of the lower end of the industry. There are going
Mm-hmm.
to be stray places where it may take a higher end job, but they are going to very much be the exception to the rule, because most higher end buyers are more interested in quality than they are in price. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing about AI is the best it can ever be is as good as we are. It can't be better.
Mm-hmm. Hey, excuse me. What are you doing?
Animal,
Oh,
child,
yes, husband.
husband.
But you don't need
Oh.
to. You trying to get some clothes? Ah, that's funny. Yeah, this is gonna be my chest of drawers for gear very soon, but right
There you
now
go.
it's clothing. um, okay, I have more fun questions for you. Yeah, I want to talk more about the demos that you make and produce for people in addition to your robust voiceover career. I want to know what you think makes a great demo. And do you have a story of like any kind of best results that comes from a demo that you've made for someone?
Well, the very short answer to what makes a great demo is it books you work. That's kind of, if it doesn't do that, or at least if it doesn't get you signed with people, it's not
Right.
doing its
Yeah.
job, right?
Agent.
So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and what makes a great demo is different from genre to genre. A great commercial demo is current, it's fun. These days, it should have some humor in it. It should cover all kind of 5 or 6 of the main food group read styles, assuming the
Yeah.
talent can pull those off. And it should be something that, because so many agents or managers or whoever is listening to your demo, or buyers, within 5 seconds of pressing play, they might tune out, right? So it should have enough compelling stuff in it, especially at the beginning, that they want to keep listening. And that, I mean, if you have somebody who actually takes time to listen all the way through your demo for whatever purpose you're trying to engage with them, you've got them. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do with the demos we produce, commercial in particular, is we want to make them compelling from top to bottom so people will listen all the way through. Different genres, different things. With TV narration documentary, again, you want to take the talent's core ability and showcase it as much as possible within what they do well, but then also within what the market wants. So there's
Right.
some talent who can just do classic historical or crime or discovery, biography, that kind of stuff, nature. There's some who can just do, especially younger, brighter voices are often a little more geared towards reality TV and DIY HDTV, Food Network, that kind of stuff. And there's some who can do both. And so you want to find out what the talent does well, put it all together, and make them real. That's compelling. In that case, the purpose of the documentary demo, TV narration demo, is often to get representation, so you can go out and get that kind of work. Animation demos, video game demos should be fun. They're not as silly as they used to be. It's a lot more acting and being real these days. Imaging demos also getting a little more conversational,
Cool.
but they
I
need to
like
have
how
some
you're telling
humor
me
in
how
them.
it's all changing, not just
Yeah. And you need to have some humor in them. They need to be, imaging demos need to be big and loud and then blow your doors off, right? Promo
Yeah.
demos, same thing, big, loud, blow your doors off. But again, promo is getting, I don't like the word conversational for promo, because I think the better way to
It's so
describe it is
sing-songy.
well, it's sing-songy. It's moving in a similar direction to what a lot of other genres have done, but instead of saying conversational, I like to say it's a little less announcery now.
Yeah.
And because there's still a presentational element to it.
Yes.
that
I guess
that
maybe that's
is,
what
I
I
don't
meant
think,
by
yeah,
sing-songy.
I don't think that's going to go away. So again,
Yep.
you have to be on trend. You have to be current. You can't have shows on your promo demo that aren't on the air anymore. Okay, it's got to sound like it's recent and it's real and it's current. That's a really competitive side of the business.
I've
Political
noticed.
demos, same thing. Current, aggressive. You
When
can't
did
have spots
political
on.
demos become a thing? Has that
I
always
think
been
as
around, or has that been fairly recent in the last several election cycles?
It's been around, but there were far fewer talent playing in that pool in the past. There's still far fewer talent in political compared to so many other genres. It's probably maybe the most undersaturated genre, that and medical narration, in the business, because a lot of talent just don't have the stomach for it, and the ones that do sometimes only want to do one party. Okay,
Right, right.
so if you play in political is a pretty fast place to get a foothold if you're good at it, because there is a lot of demand and there's not enough supply of talent doing political. But the problem with
Fascinating.
political is that you have to check your conscience at the door a little bit, because when you talk to the
If you do
buyers
political, the buyers come from all parties and
well,
all
it's not
angles?
just ideology. You can do one party if you want to and just stick with it. And if you're just ideologically tied to one side, that may be the best thing to do, because it'll help you sleep at night. But the problem with political is that every time I talk to the people who produce political ads and ask them, what do you want to hear on a demo, they say negative. We want to hear attack ads, because that's what sells. And so we can put one or two positive spots on a demo, but if I do a political demo,
You gotta
3 out of
have
5
some
spots are going to be
smack
attack ads.
talking.
And they're nastier than they've ever been, and you've got to be willing to go there. So that's a different animal. And then non-broadcast narration is nice, because and these days you need a separate explainer demo, separate corporate demo, separate e-learning demo, separate medical demo, separate
And you
telephony
can't just
demo.
take jobs
you're
that
gonna
you've done from all of those and put those together into a demo, or does that just
if
sound too
if
patchworky these? Or I guess it's if you're trying to
well
take that and get an agent with it.
you can, but the but is that the production has to be great, the content has to be great, it's got to be a showcase.
Almost
So if you've
barely
got
half the time.
yeah,
It's
right.
barely half the time.
One of the reasons people always ask, why do you produce demos? Well, I didn't get into the demo production business because I wanted to be a demo producer. I started producing my own and producing some for friends, because we were getting tired of we do book these big national campaigns and get the spots back and be like, man, I can't wait to put this on my demo. And we listen to it and go, did they do the audio right? And it's like, oh my God, we can't use this. It's this big, 5-figure campaign, and we can't use it because the audio sucks.
I just did that, and it was clipping on my speakers. Like, I put it on the speakers, and then I thought, well, maybe it's the speakers, or these are just terrible speakers. And it played, and then another commercial played after that was clear as a whistle. I was like, oh my God, this sucks so bad.
So we got to where we just figured we can actually, because of so many of the things that they do when they put these on the air that deteriorate the sound, that we can do this better ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. But for non-broadcast, the cool thing about non-broadcast, explainer, corporate, e-learning, medical is it's a little more static. Those genres don't change quite as fast as broadcast genres. So where with broadcast genres, you're often refreshing or replacing your demo every couple of years. With
Mm-hmm.
non-broadcast, you can get 4 or 5 years out of a demo usually before it has to be changed up. And again, it's important that one of the things we always talk about. It's important that you work with somebody who plays in the genre that they are producing. Now, that can be as a talent, it can be as someone who casts, it can be as someone who produces in that genre, but they have to have a foothold. You don't want to go to somebody who, just does TV affiliate work and have them do your commercial demo.
Right.
They don't know that world as much, and it's one of the reasons we do JMC Demos does animation and video game demos. But if you do animation and video game demos, you will almost not have any interaction with me. You'll be working with my JMC Demos character team, Matt Curtis and Chris Sharps. I don't do a lot of animation or video games. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
qualified to sit there and actually hands-on that entire process. So I have people who do that very well. I supervise,
Smart
and in the end, we come up with
business owner
we had
tactics.
Daniel Ross win the Voice Arts Award this year for his animation demo. So we work hard at it, but at the end of the day, make sure find a demo producer you're comfortable with. Find somebody who you feel kind of has the vibe that you're looking for. You've got to mesh with that person. I've seen horror stories out there of people going to producer and the personalities don't work. So make sure to test them out. Have a conversation. Most demo producers will talk to you for 15 minutes for free and talk to you about what your goals are and make sure it feels like a right fit. There was another part to that question which I've forgotten now.
We talked about what makes a good demo, but also an
success stories.
example, of like any. I'm sure you'll have it. I mean,
well, one that comes to mind immediately is a guy we just finished his commercial demo about 4 or 5 months ago named James Nash, who's a New York VO. And you talk about reward and impact, right? You like to see it with jobs, but you also like to see it with career goals.
yes.
And James shot me an email less than 2 weeks after he got his demo back. CESD signed him. Boom. Right after he sent them that demo and a few others. And, that's the purpose. That's what we do. Brad Hyland, a good example for me also. He's somebody I worked with Brad as a coach. I did his demos 5 years ago, and we've refreshed them a couple of times since. And I've watched Brad on the back of those reels, and obviously the very hard work that he does and puts into it, but he's booked a lot directly from the reels, go from a 0 to not just like low 6 figures, but healthy 6-figure talent in about 5 years. And we have a lot of stories like that, but there's never a guarantee of results with this stuff. It's a lot of it comes down to how hard you work, right?
Absolutely. I know that is true. But the refresher on the demos, here's my question with that. So he's already signed and has his agents, I'm sure, that give him work. And he used those demos to sign with those agents.
Right.
When he refreshes his demos, what exactly is that for?
So refreshing a demo just means that we're going to take maybe 1 or 2 spots that perhaps are not as current as they were when we did the demo. Either the product is no longer for sale, something has changed to make it
so
to make
that
it
it
less.
can live
Or
on the agent's website and be something that prospects
it has,
play
it has
and it's
multiple
current?
purposes. So
go on.
Yeah, so either the product's no longer available, maybe the read style has changed or gone out of date a little bit, so we have to put something else on there to replace it or tweak the approach because that read isn't booking as much. It really isn't as relevant for the existing agents, although they're always happy to get refreshed demos. It's more relevant for the 2 things you generally will use a demo for, which is to either get new representation, or to actually market or book clients directly. And the more current, the fresher your demo is, the better chance you have of actually booking those clients. So that's the purpose of it. And the cool thing is most demo producers out there have a demo refresh option, which means that if you've got a great reel, even if it was produced by somebody else, we can listen to it and go, okay, you've got 3 spots on there that are still solid and still current and still work. Let's replace these 2. And it's a lot less expensive than doing a brand new demo from scratch.
Right. Cool. And you do that? Do you offer that?
Yeah, we do. We choose. So I mean, the difference is between, if you do a brand new commercial demo, it's $2,499. If you do a refresh, it's $450 per spot. So if you just need 2 spots, it's a really big difference.
Sure. Huge. Okay. Cool. Okay. I've been enjoying this conversation, by the way. First of all, we are 45 minutes nearly into it, though, so I want to try and condense the last so that we don't go over, and you can go on with your day.
As you've discovered, I'll talk until you stop me.
I'm sure you've got something bookending this, though. But yeah,
I do. I have something at the top of the hour, but it's good.
I knew it. I knew it. Yeah, 2 questions. So before I don't forget, one, what is there any VO gear that you're using lately that you love? You're in Luxembourg. Do you bring stuff? Do you have a studio there and a studio back in?
I have a studio here, and I have a studio in our newer house in Maryland. Yeah, actually, we have a temporary vocal booth to go in there right now.
So what do you pack or like?
Well, in my primary studio,
you always bring the lobster. Is that what I see?
I don't bring the lobster. That's Goldie Lobs. Goldie Lobs stays up there on the Manly.
Okay.
But so here, the newest stuff, and it's not that new. I have the Manly reference cardioid. I also use a 416 up here, and love the Apollo Twin, which I have down here. I also am a big fan of the RME Fireface UC, which is a cool little preamp that punches way above its weight. And that's actually a good one. Both of those, the RME or the Apollo, are also good to travel with because they're relatively small. Frankly, you can do all right with a Scarlett on the road too if you have to. The 416 is my preferred travel mic because the small capsule will help cancel out rooms that maybe aren't quite as ideal, right? So that's useful for me. And then in the studio in Maryland, it's going to be kind of a mirror image of what we have here. So its own Manly, its own 416, and its own preamps, so that the sound can track with what we do here.
Right. Yeah, you like what you like, but also consistency is good for jobs too.
Well, consistency is important because clients, I do a lot of e-learning, medical narration, corporate, and those clients sometimes come back 2 years later, and they want to change, and also you need to match the audio, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to track your settings and make sure you're on the same gear.
Yes, I know that. Okay, just a couple more questions left. And so the next one, I'm very curious to see what you have to say about this. You've actually sort of already accidentally touched on it a time or two, but where do you see this voiceover industry going in 5 years and in 15 years? And also, I'm curious, where do you see or want your personal voiceover career to be in 5 years and 15 years?
Okay, good questions. So the industry itself, in the short term, in the next 5 years, what's going to change? I think the biggest changes we're going to see, and this may be an AI impact thing to some degree, and it'll continue through that 15-year period, but I think it's already starting to some degree, is sort of a slow erosion and eventually elimination of the very low end of the market. I think what you're going to wind up having, if I were a Fiverr talent, even doing well, if I were somebody making,
I do see those. There's a whole Facebook group. They'll be like, oh yeah, $6,000 this month. That's not horrible.
Absolutely. No, but if I were doing that $50, $60, $70, $100 at a time, I would be making plans to change my business model now, because that's the kind of work that AI is going to come in and take away.
I don't even want to do that work. Before you go on, I created an AI. Well, I was the name pronunciation feature on Facebook for the last 10 years or something. I think they just ditched it when they became Meta. But that was such a different process to build that synthetic voice. But then there's this a lot of new AI companies popping up, and there was one in Seattle. And so I made an AI voice with them, and now it's like quarterly payments, and I made an avatar. So it's not me. I had fun making the avatar, and the algorithm was interesting. You didn't even edit out your breaths. The AI learned your breathing, which I thought was very strange. So 2 weeks ago, I had all these people. I got all these people. I had 2 messages sent to me like, hey, love the Doodly ad. I'm like, Doodly? I own that software. I bought that whiteboard software for $67 8 years ago. I would remember if I did that spot. And then someone was like, no, it's unmistakably you. And then someone recorded a cell phone video of it and sent it to me. I was like, oh my God. I thought this was going to be used for really dry medical jobs or something, not commercials.
That's why we have to be careful, right?
The truth is, it was such a low end YouTube spot. They weren't planning on offering anybody any kind of good wage anyways. But then I was like, Jesus God, I didn't know I was going to be competing with my own cloned voice for jobs. And then they did have an interesting perspective on it. They were like, it isn't so much that your cloned voice beat you out for that job. It's kind of more like your cloned voice beat out other AI voices for that job because they were already looking to pay garbage.
Right.
And the truth is, it sounded good, but I could do better, much better.
Right.
I could hear the
Right.
spots where it's like, yeah, you're not quite there on that spot and that spot and that spot. And I don't want to do that work. So
Well, and I
maybe
think
I'll get
that's
a quarterly payout on work that I
Right.
never wanted to do in the first place, and I can still go for the higher tiered stuff because it's not in my. It's all kind of wishful thinking. I don't know where
Yeah,
this
I think
is
it's
really
I think
gonna
it's a
go. I don't know if
cautionary
I made a
tale.
big mistake
Yeah.
or not.
We've
I'm just gonna be
we've
honest.
heard a lot of these stories over the years, and I think this is the cautionary tale part, which is you don't know what they're going to use it for, and you better have that protected in a contract when you create one of these things. But but I think that's the kind of work. The sub $100 work is going to go away. It's just going to go away.
Right.
The machines are going to take it all. Okay. So that part of the industry better be thinking about how they can up their game a little bit and play in bigger leagues. I think in 5 years you're going to have a really distinct choice if you're a buyer between quality voices at professional rates or AI at very low rates, but there's not going to be a low middle, okay? Because those people are going to get washed out of the industry because they're going to have most of their work taken by AI. So I think that's one thing we're going to see. I think the other thing we're going to see in the the brick and mortar world of voiceover is a continued consolidation, mergers and acquisitions of agencies and management companies. I think that they'll continue to probably create alliances and merge in many cases to sustain themselves and grow bigger. The little ones that go out and hustle up their own work will do fine. The little ones who just rely on breakdown services will probably go the way of the dodo over time.
So what is breakdown services anymore? I mean, I was thinking of voicebank.net. Never mind.
Well, so there are a number of things that have come in to try to fill the voice bank void. None of them are anywhere near as big as voice bank was, but there are a lot of them out there now. So there are some agencies who are just basically taking stuff from those sources or taking stuff from a couple of the bigger casting companies and shotgunning it out to everybody. And I think that over time those will probably go the way of the dodo.
They're not going to make it.
No, and I think that that again, you're going to see a real bifurcation between either pro VO or you have non-human choices. My career, one of the things that I've been doing lately is over the past couple of years, really kind of in the pandemic, I've made a conscious choice to try and buy back my time. And what I mean by that is that I'm working with my agents and my managers and my own marketing to book enough major national level broadcast stuff that I can start firing or giving away some of my long form narration clients, which some of the e-learning and medical pays extraordinarily well.
It's true,
and it's abundant, but it's extremely time consuming. And so what I'm doing now is I'm focusing more on short sessions where I can earn big bucks and trying to get rid of the longer sessions as much as possible. And that's always going to be a work.
And now you need time to make these amazing conferences for your voiceover community.
Right. Well, that's why I have a CEO to handle the heavy lifting, and I get to just be the queen and hello,
Anna, boss. I love that. Can't wait to meet her.
Wow.
Well, cool. This is so that's you in 5 years, just one last, really long term in 15 years.
We'll see. I would love to get to a point where I only need to show up for the really big stuff and can pursue other interests. And we have other things that we would like to do at some point in our lives, including watch my son grow up. He's 5. I'd really like to have, the flexibility of a lot of free time once he's in that 12, 13-year-old becoming a man phase to be there for him. So our goal is, we've always said our goal is kind of permanent security by the time we're 50. We're not there yet, but we're getting there.
That's a very, very admirable, all admirable goals. What last question, what is your tie to Luxembourg? Why did you, or no, Switzerland. Where are you now again?
Luxembourg. Very, very long story short. My wife and I are both dual citizens. I have a French passport. She has a Dutch passport by birthright. Okay. I came to visit family many years ago. Decided to get a little apartment in Luxembourg for a year, just so I could be close to them. And I was spending 2 weeks in my old place in Virginia and then 2 weeks here. Long story short, about 7 months in, as I'm getting ready to pack all the stuff that was in that apartment back and ship it back to the States, went to a party, met a girl, fell in love, bought a house, had a kid. And the rest is history.
Yep. Okay. I love it. That's cool. I feel kindred spirit to you guys. Now that we're here, I'm looking at like, okay, well, now I'm here. I'm not going to just not go anywhere. So
right.
Being in what feels like a destination and then learning how to travel from this base point is a really different...
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very different way to think. Anyway, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming onto my show. I'm going to give you all of the warnings when it's going to be ready and go up in about probably 2 weeks.
Cool.
And again, I can't thank you enough because it's such a wealth of information for everyone, and it's at an exciting time with VO Atlanta.
Well, the pleasure has been all mine. Thank you for having me, and thanks to everybody out there who endured an hour of me rambling.
Oh, stop. They were hungry for it. Okay, take care. Thanks again.
Thanks. Take care.
Right. How cool was that interview? Man, I feel like there's so many things I want to do now that I wrapped up that hour with him. J. Michael Collins may be like, what is the word? Black tie. Like, things for him seem rather elite in all kinds of ways. He also feels accessible. He also just feels like someone that anybody can talk to. Anybody can write to him and be like, hey, I have this question, and he will answer with a warm tone. But now that we've wrapped this up, man, I don't know about you, but I am dying to do a Euro VO retreat. Look at how you could condense it all into 5 days, work with the best of the best, and I believe you even come out with a demo in the end of it. No, oh my God, two fully produced demos. Oh my God, that's crazy. 2 fully produced demos can come out of this. So let's think about this. I mean, I don't know how much this is. It's at least $5,000, and that doesn't include your airfare. But think about getting 2 fully produced demos when normally those are $2,500 a piece. So that right there is in and of itself the same price as paying for what you're getting. Then 60 hours? 60 hours. Dude, this dude is the voice of Donald freaking Duck. DPN, I just submitted. I'm trying to sign with them. This would form relationships with people where a really accessible person brings to you a bunch of very much not accessible people. And he connects those dots between you and, oh my God, amazing training and amazing networking. I don't know. Whoever you are watching this, maybe this is something you know all about, but it's fairly new to me, and so I'm processing it right in front of you right now. This is some really cool stuff that J. Michael Collins and his wife organized. And yeah, the other piece is VO Atlanta. I'm excited about that next year. So those are all of my favorite pieces of this interview. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And if you haven't pressed the subscribe button, press it now so that you can be notified for the next Outside of the Vox. Have a good one.